If I can share something with you about the Rebbe. You see what it is like. All the Rebbes, maybe till the last Rebbe, but all the Rebbes, what they did in the world, they took Yiddien and made Tzidshid out of them. I mean, they were already 10,000 miles high, and then they put them up 100,000 miles, right? But there was never a Rebbe who mamish made Yiddien. I want you to know the Friedrich Rebbe, when he came to America, he, was a little convention, invited all the rabbis. He wants to talk to them. And he says, that was his Torah. He said, in Europe, a rabbi only had to see that Yiddien should remain Yiddien. But to make Yiddien, in Europe, he didn't have to make Yiddien. America, a rabbi has to make Yiddien. First, you have to connect them to Yiddishkeit. They're completely disconnected. So there was never a Rebbe in the world, really. I mean, the Friedrich Rebbe really began when he came to America. It was like awesome, right? It was like an atomic explosion. But this Rebbe, there were thousands. You know, you walk the streets in Israel, and you see some so-called secular Jews, right? And they're really not so much into Yiddishkeit, but you mentioned Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, yeah. I would say that 60% of the non-religious taxi drivers, you know, I don't know how much, they have a picture of the Rebbe hanging in their taxi, in Shila Sadar, you know, and it's not so simple, you know. It means this is a Yid who carried hundreds of thousands of Yid on his shoulders. I want you to know something awesome that, I don't know all the details, but one of the Chaim, this was after the Yom Kippur War, went to Israel, so the Rebbe says to him, here I give you a little wine left over from Eliyanovit's cup from Seder night, and do me a favor, go to Tel HaShomer, which is the hospital there, and there's a soldier, with its name, and give him a little bit to drink from this wine. He comes to the hospital, and they tell him that this soldier is already 3 months in a coma, and nobody is permitted to go in. You know, the Rebbe tells him to give it. He manages, he waits till the doctor walks the other way. He manages to get into the room of this soldier, and he had a spoon with him, and he puts some wine in his mouth. The soldier wakes up, and he says to him, "The Lubavitcher Rebbe sent you?" Simple as that. This non-religious soldier who has never seen the Rebbe before. I don't know how the connection, right? You know, at the beginning, without bragging, in the first 3-4 years of the Rebbe was Mamsh's right-hand man. That means that, not so simple, you know. But besides it, I could knock on the Rebbe's door day and night. And he was always, I had the privilege of talking to him for hours and learning, you know. Okay, now Lubavitch Yeshiva is a bit better, but at that time, in Lubavitch the learning was not so high. So I was already good. And when I was coming from Lakewood, so the Rebbe was talking to me.
You're knocking Lubavitch, you're knocking yourself.
No, at that time, no, it's true.
You were pretty good.
No, Lubavitch, it's only, no, it's true. It was not so good yet. After that, what's his name, Pikarsky, when he came.
But you were good.
Gutnick came, yeah. Mendel was fine. He was cute, you know. Okay, let's not mention names. But anyway, I'm not knocking it. You know, it was like.
But you're not yourself. I mean, it's not listening.
Okay, I was the greatest. I was not the greatest in the world. I was the greatest where I was standing. You know. Let me tell you. So, Mamish, I could knock on the Rebbe's door day and night. This is just one story I'm telling you. And now I'm also poor, but then I was mamish poor. I mean, for me to take a cab from Lubavitch to the west side was unheard of, you know. I mean, never seen a rich man like this in my life. I would most probably go on the subway, and if it didn't have it, I would ask one of the Rebbe, give me a loan for token. That was only 25 cents. But anyway, it was 15. The night before Shavuos was 51. I was talking to the Rebbe for hours, not for Shavuos. Wow. And then about 4 o'clock at night, I'm on my way home. And at that time, I was so much, you know, like crazy, you know. I would never leave this subway without at least talking to one person. And I was walking up and down the subway looking for a little victim whom I can talk to. Okay, you know, late at night today, it's maybe a little bit dangerous, but this was like 51, 52, it was good. Anyway, I'm getting into the subway, and there I see, looks to me like a Jewish boy, maybe 21, 22. I sit next to him, I say, what's going on, brother? And his eyes are glowing. He says, you know, I'm so proud, so happy. He says, you know, I'm really Jewish, but next Shabbos I'm getting married in the Bronx in the church to a Catholic girl, and so these are so beautiful. And you know, if you tell people like this, what's going on there, you're Jew getting married in the church, I lost him already. So I said, this is beautiful, you know, I'm proud of you too, you know, go out on Shabbos and the church. I mean, how far can you go in one lifetime? Oh, you're so sweet, you know, you're the best.
Well, you're singing away and you need to, you know.
Pepper, please. You know, if you interrupt me, then I forgive that one. I said to him, you know, I'm just so proud of you, not to be believed. And I said to him, you know something, I'm a follower. Let's give him something right now and then, because he wants to leave.
I have my friend.
10 I can't give him. Let's give him $2.
How does it get?
Give him another 2, you know, fast. Wait, he has 2 more, Sean. You never know, you know. I want to tell you something. Remind me to come back to this. When someone asks you a favor, you don't know, maybe in the Shema at this moment, your account in heaven is a bit shaky and you need this mitzvah right now. Anyway, thank you. Anyway, I said to the boy, you know something, I'm a follower of this big Rebbe, and when he hears that you get married on Friday and you didn't go for his blessing, he'd be very hurt. He says, yeah, I'd like to be blessed. He says, yeah. He asked me how much it costs. I said, straight from the Bronx, right? What do you expect, right? For free? He's going. Okay, if you remember, the train goes Kingston Avenue and then Franklin. I said, you know, let's go back. We cross over the other subway and take him back. But that time it's 4:30. I knock on the Rebbe's door. Mama shall never forget it. The Rebbe says, you know, what's going on? I said, Rebbe, you know, I spoke in Yiddish, so he shouldn't understand. I said, Mama's Rebbe brought you like a little fish. Who needs a little cleaning. Rebbe took him in, waited outside. 7:30, the Rebbe comes out and calls me in. I'm telling you, I don't know what the Rebbe did say to show me. He's sitting there, his eyes are red with tears. The Rebbe says the first thing you take him to the mikveh by the Kastira and put on film with him. I have no idea how he got out of this whole thing, but Mamish, you know, a long story to make it very short, but someone who was really off. And Mamish crazy, you know. He says he has visions And I don't want to go into it. He was mamish completely, spiritually and mentally completely off. And the Rebbe says to me, make sure he's here Rosh Hashanah. The first day of Rosh Hashanah, in Lubavitch, mamish is bringing all this kvittler, and the Rebbe mamish puts the talis over it, and the Tet and the Rebbe is blowing the shofar. So suddenly the Rebbe, before the Kiyah Shofar, the Rebbe turns around and calls me over. He says, where do you have this boy? He says, he's right here. And the Rebbe took him under his talis. But the Kiyah Shofar, I don't know what you did. After the Kiyah Shofar, he came out from the Rebbe's talis. He says to me, you know something? I don't know what happened, but it's a miracle I'm alive. It was almost like a new person. He was mamish a new person. And like, unbelievable, he's now one of them. I don't want to mention names, but he's mamish, he's a president in a shul, and he has children and grandchildren, and he's like fire, you know. You know, a Rebbe is not someone who tells you what to do. Everybody can tell you what to do. The question is, are they giving you strength to do it, you know? Rebbe is like a gas station, you know, you don't go to a gas station. Only ask where's Chicago. You can do this also, right? Because usually a gas station knows where Chicago is. But by gas station is where you get some new energy, you know, to get there. I'll tell you one weird story which happened to me personally with the Rebbe. Although it's hard always to decide which story to tell. You know, on Simchas Torah, the first Simchas Torah, someone walked into the Rebbe and was crying, a fella. But today, there were thousands, but then there were just a few hundred. He was crying so loud that the Rebbe says, who's crying? So they brought him up to the Rebbe, and he says to the Rebbe, I live opposite Lubavitch on Eastern Parkway, and I have a little boy. He has leukemia, and the doctor just told me my son has 3 more days to live. The Rebbe says to him, if you swear to me you'll put on film, I promise you your son will live. Simple as it is. Okay. The Yid came every morning to daven, put on film, and obviously it's a good Yid. And you know, at that time when I was working for Lubavitch, you know how I was operating? I had no money. Mamish, and I don't want to say anything bad, but Mamish, didn't have a single penny. I was just working for the Rebbe day and night. So where do you sleep? So I would go to a parking lot and see if there's any car open. And sit down and sleep. And the next morning I would leave, and if the owner would come and say, what's going on here? I say, this is my car. He says, no, it's my car. I say, oh, this is crazy. It looks exactly like my car, you know. Last night, I'm so sorry, please forgive me. I said, okay. But anyway, I was managing, you know, I'll tell you something, in those few summers, 51, 52, I must have been talking to thousands of young people. How much thousands? And the way I would operate, you know, okay, sleeping in the car, and hitchhiking. And one time I'm hitchhiking, have to go, let's say Monticello. It was Monticello, I had to go Monticello. And a Yid picks me up and asks me, where are you going? He says, Monticello. He says to go the opposite direction. But I really want to go Monticello. I say, I tell you something, I am like a little bit the right-hand man of the Rebbe. Tell me what you need, and I'll give it to you before you're driving me to Monticello. And you never know what you let yourself into. I mean, today I wouldn't have had the chutzpah, but that time, I really, you know, when I was very close to the Rebbe, he said to me, I want you to know something. My daughter is supposed to get married in 2 weeks. She had a nervous breakdown. She has an insulin asylum. I said to him, I'll tell you something. I'll make a deal with you. If you swear to me right here, you'll put on film, I go to the Rebbe and make sure she comes out from the insane asylum. Strong. Next day I went back to Lubavitch. I said to the Rebbe, you have to forgive me, but I did something in your account. Then you better do it. I said, this year that drove me to Monticello, and I promised him that I will talk to you about it, and he promised to put on film. The Rebbe began laughing. He says, all right, don't do it again, he said. But while we were there, the Rebbe says, let's call up the insane asylum. We called up, and the man says she was just released an hour ago. You know, like those few years I was by the Rebbe, Mamash really changed my whole life, you know. See, when I was in Lakewood, I was so much into learning, I was not into people. And when the Rebbe called me in and he says, you know, without breaking, he says, I want you to be my partner and got to talk to people. I walked out and I was like a new person. Like, I had this urge, I have to talk to every person on the street. And like, it was crazy, you know? Like, it was on the border of craziness, you know? It took me a little while to balance it out, you know? And one was German a day, which was awesome, really like awesome. You know, at that time when I was talking to young people, I wouldn't talk about Ishbitzer or Rab Nachman, other Rebbes, it was only Lubavitch, straight Lubavitch times. And there's a mimer from the Friedrich Rebbe, it says, V'kibula Yehudim es asher achenu lasos. The Jews continued what they began. Meaning to say, on Purim they continued what they did on Mount Sinai. But the Baal Shem Tov says a different Torah. The Baal Shem Tov says, "Eshehachenu lasos" comes from the word like defiling yourself. Lasos chun, you know, chun, mundane. He says the Jews realized that they had unholy themselves. They're so holy and they unholy themselves, and they promised to fix it. Well, there's a whole mind. I was learning it. At that time, my top Chabad were students from Columbia University. It's a long, long story. A young doctor, pre-med student, comes up to me, says, I have to talk to you something very important. I want you to know I'm living with a Catholic girl. And she is mamish Catholic. I love her very much. And basically I promised to marry her, but she really wants me to convert, become a Catholic. But now that I hear that a Jew is so holy, and I don't really want to unholy myself. He says, what do you think should I do? I say, I call up the Rebbe. At that time I had free access to the Rebbe. I call up the Rebbe and I said to him, listen, here's this young doctor standing next to me. And we just learned the Rebbe's Rebbe's Torah, the Kibbutz Yehudim, and he doesn't know what to do with himself at this point. And you know, the Rebbe doesn't shoot right away. He says, wait, let me think. Waiting on the phone, you know. It's very special, you know, the Rebbe's on the other side of the wire and you're standing here. At that time the phone was down here. I was over the Rebbe here and I was standing shuffling away. And he would say to me, what does he say? Say, wait, say it yet. The Rebbe says, tell him to go home and not to worry. This is strange. Call me back later. 3 o'clock in the morning he calls me. He says, you know, it's not to be believed. I came home and there was a letter on the table from the girl that she has to go to Boston because her father needs her and she will call me from Boston. And she never called me. It was awesome. It was awesome. Anyway, the Chaim.
Fine.
You see, I want you to know something. The world has vessels for mediocre people. For unbelievable people, the world has always trouble. Don't know how to take it, right? So it was crazy. Lubavitcher Rebbe had all mamish people who really, his followers, all mamish people who were angry, probably because they couldn't stand it, right? Because it's too much for them, right? Too much. Remember, the Ishbitzer says people are not afraid of darkness. People are frightened of light. Mamish frightened. Okay, what could I say? Mamish, the schus of the mitzvah God should have. Sometimes, humanly speaking, it's very crazy. Sometimes, you see, I don't know the way they operate in heaven, right? Sometimes it's a gift. Imagine I walk into Macy's and I want to buy a suit for $500, and I say, I have exactly $498. Forget the $2. They would say, this is not the Salvation Army. $500 is not even $499.98. It has to be 500, right? Sometimes in heaven, it has to be so much schus, so many good deeds in order for you to get it. But sometimes it's a gift, But you have to be a Rebbe to know this. Sometimes, let's say this Yid, his son was sick. Obviously, he needed one more strong mitzvah to have the privilege of having his son alive. What do we know, right?
So maybe the Rebbe is supposed to maybe open a path, right? It's not just give the talk, but also give a little direction.
Everything. What do I know, I want you to know something awesome. I'm sure you heard there's this super billionaire in Australia. His name is Gutnick, right? Lubavitch. I want you to know, I was there. My brother was there also. One time, in the middle of a bringing, the Rebbe says, right now, there's an opening in heaven, and someone can become rich. Who wants to be rich? And I was mamish. I was thinking to myself, crazy, I should hold up my hand. But then I didn't. And this Gutnick held up his hand. He's the only one who held up his hand. And he became a multi-billionaire. How can I ever forgive myself? I remember until this very day, I was just thinking, because Chassidim, who talks about money, getting rich. And I also didn't know it really meant millions, rich, that's all. Okay, next time a Rebbe says he wants to be rich, I'll definitely hold up my hands. In the Zohar Kodesh, the Rebbe is called, Tzadik Yesod Olam. Sometimes in Zohar Kodesh it's called Omer to Olam, the pillar of the world. You know what the pillar is? Holding everything up. There are some people who are very holy, but they're not holding up the world. And then there's some people, mamish. Sometimes you have a friend who's cute and sweet, and some people you have a friend holding you up. Not so simple. Anyway, good Shabbos, good Yom Tov, we do this all over the world.
Thank you so much.
Today, Konak is super. It's like little, just short sayings, and basically you have to learn the whole Torah to know what it says, but since we don't have it, there's a Torah from the last Lubavitcher Rebbe's father. He does like this. The rich man first, he has a little drink, then he has a little shrimp cocktail, then he has a little this, and finally he has a little soup, a little schnitzel, then he has a little dessert. A rich man, right? A poor man, he walks in, whatever you give him, you give him dessert first, soup last, who cares, he's so hungry. He gets what he'll do anything, you know? So the same way, you know, if you're beggars and learning, any sefer you take, you know, you don't know, you just learn it, right? Okay.